welcome to a new episode of the brand called You. Today, I have a very, very interesting and very multifaceted lady, Shilpi Singh, on our show. Shilpi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. It's lovely to be here.
Thank you. Shilpi is an executive coach. She's the co-founder of UnHotel, and she's an HR influencer on Twitter. So, Shilpi, before we get into your, taking your guidance on what coaching is, tell us a little bit about your early career and some of your learnings.
So interesting. My earlier career in those days, people would say I am confused because I did not have a specific goal.
Mhm.
In today's time, it's called gig economy.
Okay.
So I was studying in JNU and I was interested in media, and I started working for a media house.
Mhm.
And I was good in a lot of coordination. I was good in communication, so I continued to do that for some time before I moved on to Career Launcher in its early days.
Okay.
It was great to work with the founders then, wherein I helped young students aspiring to be in IM and doing their GMAT and training them. That was very interesting, and that's what got me interested into the field of training.
Okay.
And from there on, I moved on. I built my career in HR and training.
Okay. So, you have the first thing that when I was reading about you, I found that you're a coach. And there are a lot of people who suddenly have started to understand the meaning of coaching. Traditionally, it's been always been done by either a senior colleague
Yeah,
or by an elder in the family.
yeah.
So, what is coaching and why has it become so relevant in India?
So again, coaching has various definitions. What I understand of coaching and what got me interested into it is I see it's a facilitative conversation between two individuals, the coach and the person, individual who's getting coached. And this conversation is basically about moving from point A to point B, um, and maybe moving faster in a more efficient way, with a lot of self reflections happening, doing it better, doing it with better impact. So the coaching conversations are, in the jargon term, is called appreciative inquiry.
Mhm.
I like to use the words reflective questions, where it pushes you to think for yourself and see where you're getting stuck, how can you do things differently. And the more you have this conversation, the clarity keeps coming because it pushes you to think again and again.
Very interesting.
So, coaching basically is, if you as an individual are feeling stuck somewhere, or you want to move faster, this kind of guidance or conversation with a coach helps you in that direction.
Very interesting. So, again, traditionally, coaches were for sports people. Suddenly now everyone wants or has a coach.
Yeah.
Who should really look for a coach?
So I personally believe that all of us need a coach.
Okay.
As you rightly said that traditionally there was an elder or a colleague who was doing it. So we always seeking some kind of input, advice, sometimes a recalibration of a thought process. So I feel all of us do need a coach at some point or the other.
Okay.
The need could be different, but we do need a coach. Typically, if I talk about the corporate world or the entrepreneurship world, I feel again an individual who's wanting to move from a particular point to the next point, and they feel that an external intervention would help them do it better or would bring a different perspective, should definitely look for a coach. An individual whose decision has an impact on a larger audience, whether in terms of numbers, whether in terms of people impact, or social impact. So, where the impact is of consequence, I feel coaching really helps that individual.
So, if I want Shilpi as my coach, what would the steps in coaching be?
Number one to begin with is your own conviction that you're ready to have a coach, because it can't be enforced.
Correct.
You have to have it in you to be able to have a candid conversation with someone. Then you see that in which area you're looking for a coaching intervention. So for some people it could be to grow the business. For some people it could be to grow themselves better. So there are certain personal development goals which are there, and depending on that, then you kind of figure out which coach works
Correct.
better for you, because If today you ask me to do business coaching, which is completely, say, a business growth or business expansion, I might not be the best person.
Okay.
5 years from now, maybe, because I'm going through that phase in my business. But I work more towards in space of personal growth,
Sure.
which is based on behavioral coaching
Correct.
philosophy. I'm very good at that. So, depending on your need, you will say, okay, this person has expertise here. That's number one. Number two, again, you look for references,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
So you figure out who are the other people who've been coached by the person. Third is your personal rapport with the individual. So I might be a very good coach, but somehow I
You
don't
don't
connect
get along,
with you. Then it will not go
Mm.
anywhere.
Understand.
So the rapport and the personal connect is very important. So these are 2-3 important
right.
things which you need
Well
to
said.
keep in
Well
mind.
said. And how long should a coaching relationship be for?
So again, there is no specific rule to it,
Mhm.
and this now with experience, I can say initially when I started, I used to be guided exactly by the rule book. If it says 3 months, it should be 3 months. Um, Again, depending upon what kind of transition you're looking at. If it's a business transition with a huge impact, for example, a business being transitioned from one generation to the other, it requires more time.
Correct.
Or your business verticals changing, time, if we are staying in a VUCA world,
Sure.
so things are changing constantly, then it might require a longer intervention, which could also go up to say 3 years, for example.
Okay.
Because you are an entrepreneur, business transformations take time.
Sure.
Because coaching is about strategizing and then also putting it into action. So action will have certain results, and that will take some time. And you want to see whether it's going in the right direction or not. So you need to give it time. Having said that, if you come to a typical managerial level coaching in a corporate, it could be as short as 3 months duration as well, with more frequent interventions. So completely depends on the role of the person and the impact that they're wanting to create.
Okay. And one last question on coaching before I move to the next segment. How do I evaluate that my coach is good?
Interesting. So it's very measurable actually, because in coaching we start with setting goals which are measurable.
Yeah.
We start with SMART goals, simple, and all these goals are measurable.
Okay.
So and we put the metrics right in the beginning.
Okay.
Even the softer part, like I want to get less angry, or I want to be more calm, and that can be a goal. And we have a way of even putting a measurable metrics to that. And between the coach and the coachee, we keep evaluating the metrics in frequent intervals to see whether we move from point A to point B to point C.
Wonderful. So Shilpi, move to the next segment, which is UnHotel. Tell me about this venture.
The UnHotel Company is a venture which I started along with my partner, who also happens to be my husband, Manish Sinha. So Manish and I, we've been running our homestay for last 10 years by the name of Cinnamon Stays in Gurgaon. When we started it as an experiment and thought we'll see how it goes. We had read about bed and breakfast in the West. This was 10 years ago when it was still very new in the country, especially in Gurgaon, because you don't have tourists in Gurgaon.
Correct.
But we started it, and slowly people started trickling in, and we enjoy meeting people. We enjoy having conversations. So it started to grow. And after some time, of course, Manish was also the co-founder for the Oyo Rooms. I was not a part of it. But then that went a different way. So after Oyo, we were thinking, okay, what next now? And hospitality had interested us. We were also seeing the gaps which were there.
Okay.
So we thought, we wanted to bring our intelligence, our experience of a modern discerning traveler in this space. And therefore, the UnHotel Company started initially with the idea of bringing together very boutique properties and storytelling about these properties.
Okay.
We are very clear we're not an OTA, we are not an aggregator of rooms. We do not sell rooms.
Okay.
We sell stories of these unique places. The stories could be about the founders, the story could be about the community impact work which that property is doing. The stories could be about the architecture of a particular property. It's done so beautifully. So each state that we started marketing and storytelling about had a unique proposition.
Okay.
Each place we visited ourselves before onboarding. We were very careful about even having information as to how much time does it take on the road, where to stop and have tea. Every little detail, which if you tell a person, it makes the journey more beautiful and
Amazing.
easier, because everybody's working very hard
True.
to take these 3 days, 5 days, 10 days off for a vacation.
Correct.
And we wanted to make it more memorable for them,
Yeah.
as well as for the property owners to get the right set of audience to these places, because these are not standard hotels. You do not get the standard services.
Correct.
So you have to have the right set of people who are clear in their mind that this is something which excites them or interests them.
Very interesting.
So a good match between the properties and the travelers.
Okay.
Started from there, and then we started curating experiences. And initially it was to start promoting the properties, but we saw that we were really good in that, especially in terms of operation and coordination. I'm very good at it, and my early production days helped
Sure.
me in that.
Sure.
And conceptualizing an interesting experience. Manish is from advertising background, so the storytelling of that experience he does very well. And so we've been doing some amazing
Wonderful.
experiences, again making sure that these are not just cookie cut experiences, and wherein everybody has a winning proposition. The last mile person who's giving me a service should also be equally benefited. So the idea of UnHotel Company is now we call ourselves an experiences company,
Wonderful.
and
And-
we create these experiences through travel.
Wonderful. And how many such properties do you have?
Currently we have 55 which we
Wow.
market. This year we plan to add 50 more.
Wow, that's a big chain.
Yeah.
So, when I was reading about you, about UnHotel, a phrase caught my attention. It's immersive, responsible, and slow travel.
Yeah.
What does this mean?
It could mean different things to different people.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but what we understand of it is immersive is when you're going to a place, absorb and explore the culture, the food, the nuance of that place to make it more immersive. And that happens when you come out of your hotel rooms or resort rooms and really explore the place. So that's immersive. For example, right now we have a Australian couple who's on a 19-day food trail in India, and we have curated this 19-day
Wow.
experience for them. Now right from having home food to the best restaurant food, to be sitting and having conversations with home chefs, to food bloggers, we put all of it together.
Amazing.
So it's not just what you read in the books, you experience locally. Like today in Gurgaon, who are the best home chefs? I know about that. So if it's about connecting and understanding what food tastes at home,
Yeah.
how a Chettinar food tastes in the Chettinar house and how does it taste in a restaurant, there is a difference.
Amazing.
So so that's what more immersive.
Wonderful.
Responsible is we say that we have to give it to our environment and not take it from there. India is huge and vast, and that's a grace, the kind of beauty we have in the country. Having said that, if you look at the regular places like a Manali or a Shimla or a Nainital or a Gangtok, they've just been ripped apart.
Correct.
And it's dangerous. So we are saying by responsible, meaning exploring new places. Also, how can we keep our carbon footprint a little less? How can we come out of a comfort zone and carry our own bottles, not eat the wafers and the
Yeah.
chips,
Yeah.
explore local food. So it could be as
Okay.
small as that,
Very interesting.
to as big as don't ask for unnecessary discounts,
Yeah.
because that hits the local person's
Correct.
pocket.
Yeah.
And that's very critical. Because in today's time, especially when everything is about funding and tech led, big companies which are funded can give you easy discounts,
Yeah.
but it's squeezing someone's pocket
Correct.
at the ground level.
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
we feel that that is not right. You know, that vegetable vendor should not be
I
squeezed.
agree.
So be fair and
Yeah,
equal in what
yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing. And slow is,
Take
don't
your
try
time.
to touch all the points. So some of the vacation could be just taking a book
Hmm.
and going in the hills, and just 3 days you
Wonderful.
can just read a book.
Wonderful.
You know, I was seeing the Bill Gates documentary where he says that he takes his think week, he packs all his books, goes to this place and just sits and reads his book. So you know, it could be something like that as
Terrific,
well.
terrific. So let me ask you a question about the ugly Indian traveler.
Mhm.
We keep hearing some horror stories of what some of us are doing when we travel overseas.
Yeah.
Um, do you see something similar in our own country?
See, I would say that, you know, across the globe you have all kinds of
I agree.
travelers. So we have our biases also. Having said that, yes, we can be a little more social and a little more responsible when we are traveling. Um, and when you said responsible traveler, you know, one thing which people say is Indians are very loud when you're traveling, and it's said about some other
Sure,
countries also.
sure.
So you know, respecting each other's space, uh, and just acting responsibly. Yes. So there have been cases of ugly Indian
Challenges,
travelers
yeah,
within the country also,
yeah.
especially because we market more boutique stays.
Mm,
Um, Many a times we see that, you know, when people pay money, they feel that they own the house
mm,
or they own the caretaker.
mm.
The sensitivity towards the guy who's waking up at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning in the hills to make sure your water is hot at 6.
Mm.
We have more gratitudes
Correct,
towards that
correct,
person.
correct.
That I feel is little less here.
Sure.
You know, people think, yo, I've paid money now, everything should just happen
Yeah,
at a snap
yeah,
of the finger.
yeah.
We're also become little impatient, we are in a hurry. You know, you want to switch on the button and you want things to
Mm.
happen. When you go to places which are on the beach, on the hills, they have a slow life.
Correct.
They are not city people.
Mm.
They do things at their own pace. When we go there, we want them to do things at our pace. Even that makes people, you know, it troubles them.
Mm.
So in fact, in our experiences, when we take a feedback from the guest, we take a feedback from all the caretakers and cooks and
Mm.
workers
Mm.
at the property as well. How were my guests?
Yeah.
Did they behave well?
Very good.
Did they offend you? Were they nice? Because based on that, I will make sure whether next time I want to
Mm.
entertain that
Mm.
guest or not. So my feedback is from my guests also and from my property as well.
Maybe TripAdvisor should now start rating guests as well.
They
It's
should.
time we're getting to that, isn't
Absolutely,
it?
yeah.
Okay. So should be one more question on unhotel
Yeah.
and travel before I move to some personal questions. How are millennials
Mm.
changing the way they travel and the way you are as a property owner?
Mhm.
What are their expectations and how are they changing this entire landscape?
Oh, they are outstanding. They're
Okay.
amazing. One is millennials are not into, I mean, everybody's talking about the thing that they're not into hoarding
Yeah.
commodities.
Mm.
They spend more on experiences. So we've seen a trend even in our family, friends. They earn for 3 4 months and then they want to spend on
Mm.
good experiences. So they're not looking at very lavish luxury stays, but they don't mind spending on good authentic experiences.
Correct.
So they're spending a lot of money on experiences. And see, today's millennials will grow tomorrow and they'll have the money to spend on
Yeah.
luxury as well.
Mm. Mm.
But today their luxury is experiences, and all of them have some kind of goals in life, and some travel bucket list which they have in life, and they're very clear about it. So they do travel a lot,
Mm.
but they spend more on experiences. They also do a lot of self research. So not necessarily they buy from a travel company.
Mm.
They go and do a lot of research through the blogs and, you know, other things which are there on Google. And as I said, they're also more responsible. So they want to buy goods and services and experiences which are coming from a more sustainable angle, responsible angle, fair to all. So millennials are more conscious
Yeah, they're
about
much
that.
more conscious.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with you. So let's move on a few questions about you personally.
Mm.
You know, You've been in multiple businesses, from production to coach to tourism, etc. Um, have you had any mentors? And if yes, what is the impact they've had on you?
Oh yes, we have a lot of mentors. We have something called personal board of advisor.
Okay.
I feel it's very important.
Yeah.
I feel my first mentor was my first boss in my production house.
Yeah.
Before the long journey of being into gender equality, and I work a lot in that space. I grew up in a household which never knew what a male or a female gender meant. We were equal.
Yeah.
Thankfully, my first job was about that. Amit made me do everything which a boy would be doing on the sets, from carrying tripods to heavy cameras. He said, if you've chosen to be in the field, you need to do everything.
Correct.
Um, I learned a lot from him. He was a very creative guy. Uh, so from there onwards, one thing which I learned was, if he's given me something to do, it's doable. And then he's trusting me to do some stuff. So I had this innate desire to fulfill that trust of my boss. So that's something beautiful. And of course, he took care of me as a family member. So I'm very fortunate to work with a lot of entrepreneurs in my early days.
Wonderful.
So I think that was helpful when we started our own venture. Then Satya, who was the founder of Career Launcher, who is the founder of Career Launcher. It was still early days for Career Launcher, so we worked very closely as a team. We worked very closely. I worked very closely with the founders. And the way Satya would motivate the team, the way he would show the vision of the company, and he would take everybody into that vision, was something which I felt was amazing.
Okay.
And that's something, even as a company with 3 people, 4 people, we always kept in mind how to let other people also be part of your vision, and how to take their inputs in your own vision, and how to keep them motivated, engaged, and make them a part of the company, like in real sense, not just on paper. That's something which I learned from Satya. Then another of my I think most of my mentors have been my bosses.
Okay.
At IMG, Balu was my boss, and when I joined IMG, I had not spent a long time in the corporate world. I did a lot of, as I said, gig economy. I was part of more gig economy. So I was still not very confident if I can take the big seniors head on, and that's somewhere. IPL was getting launched, and we had who's and who in the organization, and we were coordinating with the entire world. He gave me the confidence to speak my mind.
Okay.
I was always a person who would speak my mind, but I was still trying to find my foot out there, and he gave me that confidence. Also, when we all left IMG, even till now, he always checks how am I doing in life.
Very good.
So, how do you take care of your people, and you really make them a part of your life? That's something which was
So let's
amazing.
move. You spoke about gender balance, and interestingly, that is going to be the next question. There's a lot of talk of gender balance now, all over the world and in India as well. 2 questions. Number one, are people taking it seriously, or is it lip service? And second question, how do we expedite uh, gender balance in the corporate world and in life in general?
So it's been almost 8-9 years that I'm working specifically in the space of diversity inclusion as a coach, as a leadership facilitator. I feel we've come some distance from it being only lip service to companies really doing serious interventions into the space. I'm still engaged with a lot of corporates who are doing really good work.
Okay.
I'm very happy to see some of the outcome of that work. Having said that, the majority still have to tread that path. Women also have to come forward, and when I'm here talking about gender balance, I'm specifically talking in terms of maybe more women
Correct.
equality
Yes.
now, because we are in the era of gender fluidity.
Mm.
So it's not just about man and woman, we have third gender as well.
Yeah.
So, which again, a lot of people say that's not the third gender because each
Yeah.
gender is equal.
Absolutely.
So, but in terms of women, yeah, there are organizations who are doing serious work, and there are organizations who still have to
Correct.
come a long way.
Mm.
In terms of people getting sensitized, it's happening, but of course, as
It's
you
taking
said,
time.
it's a long journey.
Sure.
Our social conditionings are too strong, both for men and women, and I won't just make men responsible for it. We also have to take charge of a career. We also, if we are ambitious, we want to set out our goals, we have to see how we will fulfill those goals, how to manage our personal stakeholders and professional stakeholders to make sure
Yeah.
we get what we get. So it's both ways. Yeah. So
Wonderful. Wonderful. So my last question to you, and this is on failure. Most of us in India or South Asia don't teach children that it's okay to fail.
yeah.
Everyone just says you got to come first aana hai, sabse aage jana hai, etc. And yet we have all failed
Yeah.
in some stage or the other. My question to you is, what have your learnings been
Mhm.
from some of your mistakes or some of your failures?
So failures are always there. I think even in a day-to-day life, you have some or the other. You plan something, it doesn't happen. So entrepreneurship makes you very thick-skinned. So you learn to get up and start running again. So one is to understand. See, there are 2-3 things. As a coach, I also feel that okay, one thing is get up and start running again. Second is understand that why. Also to understand why did it fail. Spend time on that as well.
Yeah.
What can I do better next time not to make the same mistake again, rather than beating yourself to death? So why did this happen? Understanding if it happened, what were the reasons, and how could I next time make sure that these reasons are not there. Who would know it better than us? I mean, there's a story wherein we've lost a big deal out there, but so one is that. Second is of course, start up and get running again. Third is have a pool of people, your mentors maybe, or your coaches, with whom you can have these discussions, so that you don't get bogged down by the failure, because people will have different capacity to hold failures.
Correct.
Not everybody will have. Some people are very resilient and they can manage it on their own. Some people might not be able to manage it on their own. It's like, I can't manage my weight loss on my own. Somebody can manage it on their own. So if I can't manage it on my own, I go and take services of either a dietitian
Sure.
or a trainer or
Sure.
whatever it is.
Sure.
So I feel we know what our own personal capacity is, and based on that we should take decisions and have somebody who's around to help us move forward.
That's very well said. Shilpi, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and I wish you lots of success with UnHotel and with all other ventures that you do.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. Lovely talking here. I love to talk, which was very evident in the conversation.
Fantastic.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You podcast. Be sure to visit tbcy.in to join the conversation, access show notes, and discover fantastic bonus content. You can follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Simply search for the Brand Called You. Thank you and see you next week.